Hey, what's going on, everybody? Long time no fucking talk. But anyways, so what's going on? Black Lives Matter. Do they? They absolutely do. And, you know, the all lives matter shit is definitely, you know, all lives do matter. But I think it was on Birch's show that I heard his wife Marta say, when people say all lives matter, whenever there's been this issue with black people being shot and killed, it's the equivalent of if you're having a fight with your spouse, with your wife, and then, you know, she asks, hey, well, do you still love me? And you say, well, I love everybody. You know, that's kind of how that feels. So, and it wasn't until then that I kind of thought, well, you know, you got a point. That kind of makes sense, right? And then I started watching Infinite Waters, Ralph Smart's new video about some shit about Black Lives Matter. It's all a trap. I forget the title of it. Sorry, I wouldn't pop up like that, but I saw his video, and what he started talking about is something that, well, I was going to talk about, even though I hadn't made a video in a long time, and I might sound like a cop-out, but this kind of issue and topic, being a white male myself, is not something I like to try to dive into or even lend an opinion on, because it's very polarizing. So I don't even want to talk about the whole race thing, but I do like to point out how whenever there's polarizing issues, when there's something like this that happens, it's tragedy. None of this shit should happen. I made that very clear a few videos ago when I found out about it, how much disgust I have for, you know, the police officers that stood by and the one that committed the act. I guess the one who actually had the murder, did the murder, I guess, versus the ones just helping and watching. But, you know, I expressed it very clearly that they're pigs, and that's because I've had a lot of run-ins with cops, and, you know, let's say I know I've had run-ins with, let's say, 30 different officers, and it's probably about that, which, you know, obviously I'm not the greatest person if I'm running into officers. Now, all those times weren't just for me. It was other people's problems, and I was involved. One time I saw this guy looked like he was assaulting a girl on the side of the street, so I stopped, me and my girlfriend at the time, she was my ex-fiance before I met my wife, and we stopped to go help the woman, and the guy turned around and cracked me in the face, and then I just looked at him. I was shell-shocked, to be honest. I didn't even fucking fight back. He just walked away from me because, you know, I took his hardest punch and I didn't even flinch. Although the next day at work, I went to blow my nose, and he did fracture something here, because when I blew my nose, there was like an air pocket somewhere, and it blew up my fucking, I think it was my right side or my left side, I can't remember, but it blew up one of the sides of my eyes, and it was all fucked up for a while. The doctor said the air just has to release. It should be gone in a couple of days. I forget, he told me how to release it. It would help, like, you know, how you put hot water or rags on your eyes, it releases that gunk and shit like that. Well, similar things to that effect would help. Hot baths would help release it somehow. Anyways, point is, all these different run-ins with cops, okay? Even in specific matters where I wasn't the person, you know, who was getting blamed for something, or I wasn't actually in trouble, the cops weren't always the nicest people to me, you know? So I've always had this bad narrative of police officers, but, you know, I was always the bad one, getting in trouble most of the time, and that's why I thought little of cops. But nonetheless, the cops always thought little of me as well. Like a two-way fucking nasty street that I try my best to not pass on to my kids, but, you know, that's one of those old habitual patterns that is very hard to control and stop. So, you know, I gotta do my best to not, you know, keep hating on cops, because this kind of shit happens. We hate cops, cops hate us, and then this shit happens. And, you know, I'm far from getting killed by any cops, but my level of, you know, it's not hate, but dislike for the police officers isn't going to help anybody. You know what I mean? More people that I influence to not like cops, let's say they watch either my show or they're my friends and they happen to be of color. Well, what happens with me when I'm in cuffs versus one of my colored friends who's in cuffs is a completely apples and oranges, depending on what the cop believes in. But anyways, all that to say that if I've met 30 cops in the last, let's say, 15 years, because I started going to court, no, it's probably more like 18, 19 years. I started going to court when I was in high school. So, I've been seeing cops for a while now. And out of all those cops, and, you know, I met a couple through my stepson, the one that helps him with school and stuff like that, is a great guy. Andrew, I can't remember his last name, but he's a great guy. And he's the kind of guy who was meant to be a cop because he really wants to help children and stop youth that are going the wrong way. He wants to help whatever way possible. And he's the type of guy who's real. He's not going to beat around the bush to just, look like a good guy in front of the people or show off, put on a show, and just not really help the kids. He's there to actually help the kids, and he'll be brutally honest if he has to. But if it means getting his point across, then there's something very honorable about that guy every time I see him. And so there's a few that stand out, but out of the 30 I've met, there's probably at least 22 to 23 of them that are just plain assholes. That just have this opinion in their head of all criminals. If they're called to deal with you, you're just a prick. And it's like, maybe the people that are doing that job should be like that. But maybe that's somebody's opinion. Maybe they're supposed to treat everybody as, guilty until proven innocent. But I think they should be, more of, okay, we're here to, keep peace, keep the balance, keep the sides even, to stop you from hurting anybody else or doing whatever bad shit you're doing, whether it's taking money from the government's pockets or, sorry, I'm gonna lose me for a second here, but just to turn this bitch on. Anyways, so either you're gonna if you're fucking over the government and tax evasion, let's say, like that was my whole smuggling thing, was because the cigarettes I wasn't paying duty on, I wasn't paying taxes on it, I didn't have a business license to sell for. That's what I was doing wrong. That was in that specific instance. All they're doing there is stopping me from taking more tax out of the pocket, or taking more money out of the pocket of the governments, whether it be the U.S. Because that's where the smokes are coming from, or Canadians paying whoever I was bringing those smokes to, instead of going to the store and paying taxes on smokes. That was the charge that's a crime I was committing, which you can say it's not really a crime. But the point is there a need for a cop to shoot you on the ground, cuff you whenever he comes to your car, and you cooperate with them? They put you in cuffs, they put your face down on the thing, they give you maybe a kick too when you're not even resisting and you're not saying anything. Is there really a point to all that? And I'm a white male who, most of the cops, if they actually talked to me, didn't have these judgments of me before I said a word. I normally got them laughing, and depending on how my mood was and how I felt about it. But I've always had this belief that if I treat people nice or with respect, even if I'm in the wrong, I have a better chance of a better outcome than I do if I don't. Which is probably why the first time when I did get pulled over, I didn't have any charges laid on me, nothing. The cops thought I was going to cooperate to be a rat, and I was so overwhelmed at the time, I didn't know what to say, and they went through the whole hierarchy of what I would get, telling me that if I know how they're getting people across the border, that's the number one, and then it's guns, and then it's drugs, and then it's smokes. Well, marijuana, then smokes. So drugs and marijuana were two separate things at that time. But anyways, the point is, they told me all that, and they told me I can go up and down the bridge all day as long as I kept feeding them intel. And they would make it look like they had me go to court and mock a fake court hearing and everything. It was like, wow, okay guys, that sounds really good, let me get back to you, because this is a lot to take in. And okay, so we won't do anything as of right now. And so when I got home, me and my ex, we fucking moved, and we traded all the cars in I had that they were going to let me keep using because they were hot. And obviously the next time I got caught, they weren't so fucking forgiving because I stood them up and they knew I wasn't going to rat. So that's why they wanted fucking $250,000 and 2 years in jail. And I did 9 months weekends. I had to be in there for a couple weeks there, straight, 3, and that was awesome. But it is what it is. Point of all that is sometimes there's no reason to be an asshole. Like, I'm not doing a violent crime, I have no weapons, and they put me on the ground and kick me and give me fucking just because they're angry, just because some people that get that job, there's types of jobs out there that bring a certain type of person, okay? There's certain jobs that are created that bring a certain type of person, that a certain type of person goes towards that job more than other type of people. you know, because like I've watched a lot of things about Jordan Peterson and the whole equality of outcome, okay, and equal gender rights and all this shit, basically saying that they want more women. People are being oppressed in a workstation, whether it's guys that are working in an environment where it's mostly women, or it's women working in an environment that's mostly males. Apparently there's a big deal about this, so they're trying to make it equal. So much so that, you know, I watched this movie about a fucking racing snail, and the girl, the mechanic girl, was so butched up, it was unbelievable. It sounded like Angelina Jolie's voice. I'm not sure if it was, but she looked so butch, it was unbelievable, you know. But, you know, they're trying to do shit like that, making a mechanic a girl, and then making a guy, you know, whatever, nurses, school teachers, I don't know what the equivalent is, and I got no problem with that. I think if people want to do that, then people should do that. But they're trying to use programming, they're trying to, you know, they think the fact that they make dolls and Barbies for little girls, that's why little girls like Barbies. So they figure they make monster trucks and soldiers and mechanics and cars and engines and this shit more attractive than girls, and girls are gonna like it. But I hate to tell them, there's a reason why little girls like dolls. It's because they're playing mommy. I mean, I don't know that from experience. I know that from having two little girls. My two little girls look up to my wife like it's like that's what they want to do. So when a girl does that, it's because they want to be like their mother. And then once they get to school, they want to be like their friends. But all those friends, maybe not all, but a lot of those friends might have done the similar things depending on where they live. If you're going to a school in the Bronx, then it might be different. If you're going to schools in the ghetto, sorry, I don't even say Bronx. I know it's a place in New York, so that's stupidity coming out of my mouth, so my bad. But I mean, we don't have ghettos here in my town, but we have the poorer neighborhoods that, you know, whenever I used to do dope and shit like that, it's like, oh, okay, where are we gonna go pick up? It's like, oh, let's go to the ghetto, you know, and that would be in the low housings and shit like that, which, you know, our low housing here isn't that bad, but, you know, it's not like the rich neighborhoods, and it just is what it is. But what I mean by that is those kids might not have had as much, and, you know, but they did the same, probably the similar things. If they had a mother, they would look up to that mother, even if that mother treated them like shit. Most girls would look up to their mother, the first woman in their life, and then when they got a boyfriend or friends, then they would look up to them because they actually treated them nicer than their mother did. But the point is we're programmed more by our environment than we are programmed by. Environment is more important to our mind or programming than, you know, hereditary. Hereditary does play, you know, we get the genes from our parents. You know, there is some science involved in there. Not everything is programming, but the majority of what you are going to become, do, and speak language-wise, your intelligence, what you're going to achieve, happens from what is around you and what you see. And that's because that's how we learn. That's how we adapt. If it wasn't for that, then we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Like, our body is so magnificent. We learn through repetition. It's one of the reasons I believe they drag school on for so long. They want people to learn how to sit there quietly and listen. But the more they drag that on, the more they make children do that, the more they find that there's so many more kids having these different issues, ADHD, ADD, autism. There's all these different excuses for kids that can't sit there all day long, and they're just feeding them fucking pills so they can manage to sit there all day long, and it's not right. But I don't know, I don't want us to say anything that can start conspiracies or blame the school system for this and that and the other thing, but it isn't right. We're programmed more by environment. So if you sit a bunch of kids in class for fucking 6, 7, 8 hours a day, whatever it is, I think it's 7, well, minus the recesses, so it probably works out to 6, but 6 hours a day, and you shove these books in their face that teach about our bad history, well then, you know, what does that tell them? It tells them we do some awful, atrocious things, but it also tells them that, you know, these things are still possible, these things can happen again, that these people are bad, not to trust them. Like, it's not right. It tells them, okay, well, if you're white, then you're going to succeed. If you're not white, if you're from one of these races, well, then these white people used to fucking, they used to be your slaves. And it's like, it's so wrong. I don't believe in that at all. It's so the opposite of what we should be teaching our youth. And, you know, they fucked with things so much to the point where, You know, science has proven that we all come from Ethiopia, from this one woman that we can trace almost all our genes come from, Lucy in Ethiopia. And that's a hard pill to swallow for all these fucking, I guess, head honcho white fucking, I don't even know if they're universities, if they're just fucking, like, I don't believe in it, these elite groups and shit like that. But for some reason, it seems to somewhere that there is somebody out there who is trying to start race wars. There's somebody out there trying to keep everyone divided, wants to keep, whether it's minorities in general, if it's mainly black people for some reason, I don't know, but it's clear that somebody is trying to keep the black people from having power, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it one fucking bit. And I hate to say shit like that, but what else could it be? Why else are we having this happen? And the only other option I come up with is it's something that happened. It wasn't planned, but it has to be used to get people's mind off of COVID and whatever else happening, basically. They need something else to separate and divide people. COVID backfired on whoever, whatever was going to happen, whatever the fucking plan was. I don't pretend to know, even though I have my opinions and I think I know what I know, and I'm not going to force that on anybody. But now they want people to start this race war. They want people on the left and the right. It is an election year after all in the States, and you know, the one side wants people against Trump, so this is a big reminder that, you know, he's racist, first of all. So, you know, and, you know, if there is a president in power who is against some of the people who, you know, some of the races, and, you know, I don't like that either, because I am one of those people that initially was kind of like, well, you know, Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter. Yeah, that makes sense. And it wasn't until I heard Marta say what she said that I was like, oh, you know, that fucking makes complete sense. All lives do matter, but right now it's that black life that should be talked about and should not die in vain. And we need to fix this shit before this keeps happening, because clearly we only know about this because it was videotaped. And like, I know firsthand how prickish cops can be. And I'm a white dude without a fucking gun or anything, you know, in one of the safest countries in the world, where the meanest cop is probably one of the nicest cops, you know, in fucking, you know, anyways. But the only other thing this could be is just straight old fashioned polarity, straight old fashioned hits deep roots. Just something that everybody who is now in politics and at a certain age, whether it be, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s and up, we were taught all this stuff. I was taught this in school. I learned about the fucking Civil War in the States, North against the South. And it's fucked up when you learn about it, because, you know, the North apparently fought for the slaves, right? But then there's these movies and true stories and books and documentaries that talk about how the North was still very much against different minority groups and races, and still had, you know, slaves and shit like that after the Civil War. And then there's this other proof saying, you know, the South had, the slaves were fighting alongside their quote-unquote slave owners. You know what I mean? It makes no fucking sense. And I don't bother going forward and looking into that, because most of the stuff I find is probably there so I can find it. And it's kind of the point I was going to get at, and Ralph hit it right on the head, that I've said this a long time ago too. Whatever stories they're giving you, and that's included in the alternative media, whatever story we get, whatever story they get, whatever conspiracies there are, all these are controlled. All these are stories that they've okayed, and they're already ahead of us. They already know what we're going to respond. So none of it is outside of what they already know we're going to do. All they want to be able to do is predict the outcome. They want right against left. They want blacks against whites, or they want minorities against the majority. They want people hating the white man. They want people hating the black man. They want people hating every race. As long as they have races separate, as long as they have all of us separate and not uniting, they are happy, and they don't care how it happens. Like I said, I don't think this was done on purpose. But I mean, obviously the man who killed that black man, that was on purpose. He held his head down and he killed him in cold blood. Maybe he wouldn't think the guy would die. Maybe he's done this to many people, and the other black people he did that to somehow didn't die, or something happened where he didn't have his leg down that long. I don't know. Who can know something like that? But all I know is, he did that on purpose. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it was some plot, because there's even things floating around out there saying the guy's still alive and all this shit, and that's just like, man, that's pretty insensitive that people are still alive. And it's not something I would even pursue just in case. You know what I mean? I don't even like talking about the Civil War being backwards like I just did, because it feels disrespectful to those who've had family members who fought in that, so on and so forth. Same thing about the World War II stuff I've talked about before. Same thing about any World War stuff I talked about. It feels so disrespectful to do that. But it's because I sat in a classroom and I learned about this over and over and over again. And then so I have programming in me, knowledge in me that I know, that I can tell you about right now. And then when I go against that, it's an inner conflict. It's like, well, that's not what we learned. That's not what you were programmed to know. You know what I mean? It feels wrong to talk about it, but yet it's there. And it's like, I don't know what to do about that kind of shit. But what I'm saying here is, there's a bigger picture out there, and it's that the war that's being fought right now is the smaller minority that we need to know about, that we need to fight. Not minorities as in black, white, African American, African Canadian, whatever you want to call it, Canadians, Americans, East Indians, American Indians, whatever you want to call it, okay, whatever our races are, right? Caucasian, African, American, all those different races that we are. That's not what I'm talking about, minority. I'm talking about the financial minority, the political minority, the status minority. They want the people that are paying taxes and the people that are on the system, people that have to work the jobs that keep this cog going, okay, versus the people that keeps the cog going by manipulating us. There's a lot less of them, there's a lot more of us. They don't want this polarity to shift. They want to stay on top of the pyramid, and they want us at the bottom of the pyramid. That's what they're worried about. And with everybody getting into new age self-improvement, trying to better themselves, trying to try different magics, law of attractions, this shit over and over and over again, okay? People doing this, a lot of people are succeeding, a lot of people are making a lot of money, a lot of people are coming to truth. There's a lot of people out here talking about getting insightful thoughts that are just your regular Joe Blow with how many kids, but they're manifesting things, they're getting out of things are happening. And that scares the people that are in power, because the way they used to control, manipulate us is slipping. It's slipping. We are getting better. We are getting stronger. We are becoming more united. Every little polarity scheme they throw at us to try to divide us, we devour and we become more at one. The more bullshit they throw at us, our conspiracy theorists, our truthers get a hold of it, they tear it apart, and then you have the people saying, well, that's bullshit too. But then you have everybody else in the middle saying, why are you guys fighting over this? What the fuck is the point? And that's getting smaller by the day too, to the point where I think the only people that are fighting against conspiracy theorists and people going to battle against each other like that are the ones that are trying to keep us in fucking conspiracy land and fighting each other. Whereas everybody else who's like, that shit doesn't even matter. Why do you care about if you're right or if he's right? Why do you care about what conspiracy is right and what conspiracy is wrong? The only people trying to keep us going down the conspiracy rabbit hole and the truth rabbit hole, I mean, there's still a lot of people doing that, but those people are on their path to become awakened. Those people are on their path to become enlightened. Those people are on their path to become awake, and everybody else who dives back down those holes after they've done like a neophyte or initiation is just going through some kind of dark night, and they're having their faith tested, or their fucking, faith, but they're having their, they're having a couple tests, because your initiation brings on these things. It brings on you having to take these life tests a little faster. So all that is you going through that again, and you're going to come out of it stronger than ever. I just went through another fucking one. I wouldn't say it was another dark night or anything like that, and like really using that term, but this whole going down this hole and watching fucking, you know, Thunder Wizard and shit like that. I kept going on about having to pretend to be right and all that. And I didn't think I was going to be going through something like that, but it was part of my journey. It was part of what I had to do to come out back on the other side victorious. There's some things I had to go over. There was some programming I picked up along the way whenever I was doing this spiritual journey that came along with stuff, and I'm not going to get into it all now, but that'll be like an hour episode on its own. But you know, I picked some shit up that I didn't need to have, and you know, it was a bad attitude, it was a bad way to look at things, and I've freed myself of it. And you know, obviously I'm still working at it, but you know, everything is going pretty great now for me. So, but the way the world's going, it's not completely bad. Everybody needs to understand that the media try to manipulate us. They try to manipulate us, but every time they try to do it with health and vaccinations and shit like this, I think it backfires. I think it backfires more that way than any other way. So, sorry about that. I was hearing something outside there. I thought maybe one of my kids or family was coming towards me. But anyways, the COVID thing, I think, I don't know what happened, but I think it's backfired. And you know, there might be a round two. Everybody's saying round two is coming in the fall, the winter, or whatever. It's going to come back. This and that and the other thing. I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, there's always a chance that, you know, that time of year is going to come around, but to me, it's a moot point now. Most people know that the only people that are at risk are, you know, the people that have weak immune systems. And you know, I think it backfired. But something like race and polarity is something that's fed into us. It's fed into us as our history books are told to us, and it's not hard to get people against each other when it comes to that. But when you lock up country after country after country, tell them they have to stay inside, and you know, people are dying and this and that, and then people start doing their own research, people start listening to other people, then you know, it didn't work. People are, you know, I thought a lot of people were stupider, and I don't know. I was pretty hard on people, thinking they were all dumbasses, but you know, people were just worried. But overall, I think we did pretty fucking good. We came out of this pretty fucking okay. Everything's about to start up now, starting up slow and all that. But what I'm seeing now happening, and I hope to God it's not true, but they can divide people right now. If they can get people, races against each other, us to stay as separate as possible. Right? Social distancing. We're supposed to be separate. You know, social distancing. You go outside and the white guys are wearing a mask and the black people aren't wearing a mask. Well, not only are they going to be like, fuck, they're stupid, they're not wearing a mask, but they're black, you know. There's just extra fucking separation there. Trying to make you put racism on top of the fact that they're not wearing a mask and gloves when you are, you know. Like, oh, they're going to put everybody at risk. You know what I mean? It's wrong. And, you know, it could be the opposite as well. The black people could be wearing the mask and gloves, and the white people could not be, because, you know, me and my wife don't wear a mask when we go out, or gloves. And there could be, you know, a black doctor and a black fucking lawyer there. Couple will make way more than me and my wife, because they're intelligent people, and they could be saying, look at those two fuckers not wearing a mask and shit. They're going to fucking contaminate us. Like, you know, and it's just going to be there to cause separation. And so how do you get coronavirus 2 to actually work really good? Well, you start polarity battles in the off time, when everybody seems to be going okay and everybody's getting out there and protesting and rallying up against each other, and Black Lives Matter, then you start saying all lives matter. So you get people, okay, well, all lives do matter, but right now we got to focus on the blacks. Like, all right, if you're not worried about the black people that are dying from the police officers, well, then you must be a racist fuck too. And in all honesty, I think that's kind of true. If you're out there saying all lives matter, not just black lives matter, and you're saying stuff like, well, if it was a white person that died, nobody would be fucking doing this. It's like, okay, first of all, that's all hypothetical. A black person did die, so where's your fucking, like, sympathy, you know? That doesn't matter, your hypothetical thing. White person didn't die because white people don't get killed by cops. And if they do, well, then their time will come where we fucking figure that out and we do it. But there's a reason that black people are dying by police officers, and it's got to stop. Simple as that. So saying all lives matter is insensitive. at this time. Obviously, it goes without saying that all lives matter. If we're fighting for the black races, if we're fighting for the black people that are dying, okay? You know, this is one of those things where I said a long time ago, and I learned this from Birch too. You can go out there and you can support this. If I'm a white man and I support this, like I went down to I protest to show my support for the black man that died for this cause, and it's a damn good cause. But it's not up to me to get on that podium and start making statements. It's not up to me to be like, yes, all lives matter, or black lives matter, or this and that, it's gotta stop. It's not the place for me to do it because it's not my race. But I'm still going to show my support as a human being, as a person who lives in this world, as a person who's been treated roughly by cops but never killed. That I know that there's something more. It's not just that you're a criminal piece of shit, so I'm gonna keep my knee on you because I'm a criminal piece of shit that was treated like a criminal piece of shit from a white cop. Cops do treat us like shit because we're criminals. They can get away with it. A criminal's not gonna go and complain about how the cop treated them. No one's gonna take the criminal's word for it. But when shit like this happens, when there's 4 fucking white strong males with a fucking 1 black male face down handcuffed, like, you can't get up if you wanted to in that position. You really need your fucking knee on his neck? Come on, you fucking prick. That's an issue. This person's got an issue, and there needs to be better screening for these people that are supposed to serve and protect. I don't care who they're serving and protecting. If they are for the government, if that's what all they're supposed to be for, because if you do the research, you'll see what Ralph Smart found out. The Boston Knights or something like that. The Knights something. The first police force was in Boston in like 1700 or 1600 or something like that, and it was for the interest of corporations, and that kind of slowly transferred into government and the law. But the law, you're abiding the law book. They are doing as every person has. Anyways, I'm just going to go on and on and on, and I don't want to say something wrong, because the point I want to get across, 2 points I want to get across, is I'm not a racist, because I don't believe in race. I believe all lives do matter. But more than that, I believe that, it's insensitive to say all lives matter right now, because it's the black lives that we're worried about. And then we can move on to all the other minorities that also been mistreated. But we'll deal with one at a fucking time. And we got to get all on the same page here, because it's about dividing us again. So I don't think the answer is to go out there and say all lives matter, because that's just going to polarize people against you. It's going to be the black life people against the all life people. You know what I mean? And that's just a way to either get everybody against the black community or to get all the minorities against the white. And it's just stupid. I think we all need to show our support for the black lives that have died at the hand of, doesn't matter what race, but it wasn't me that killed that black man, and I wouldn't have done that, because I love all fucking people, all races, all nationalities. When someone in my country badmouths, because there's people that badmouth the East Indians and different nationalities that come overseas, because they come here and they get 20 grand and they get all these grants and whatever else, and it's like, I get that our government doesn't give us all that, but here's the thing. If you were given that to go to Ireland or given that to go somewhere else, would you go do it? It'd be up to you at that point. And if you didn't, well, then that's up to you. But they're not taking that from our government. They're not taking that from you. Well, our taxes pay for it. Yeah, but it's your government taxing you to give it to them. It's the government you got to be mad at. And why would the government do that? Why would the government be saying, hey, multicultural this, multicultural that, and then yet letting you know that your taxes are paying for them? Why would they do that if it's not just to keep you guys separate? So that you work and keep paying those taxes because you have to, and yet the whole time you complain and bitch about the people that came over here. It's more separation. And it's no different than what's happening right now. So that's all I guess I wanted to say. Like I said, there's always a plan behind this shit. Right against left, it don't matter. It could be all about the election season. It could be, I think it's just about keeping us separate. If they do drop this round 2 of COVID, with everybody being fed up about it now, knowing what they know, they probably need to fucking weaken us some way. And this might be the way to weaken the population. It could be the way to keep us all separate and against each other before we get all scared and be stuck back inside for the next winter. Fuck. I mean, us Canadians are stuck inside all winter anyway, so it don't fucking matter. You fucking do this shit in the winter and the spring, and it don't matter to us. We're always stuck inside at that time of year. So, but just keep that in mind. I think it's to separate us, and I think anybody who is of a different nationality who wants to show their support, they should show their support, but they shouldn't go out there and get mad if people are saying Black Lives Matter. Like, it's like your life doesn't matter. It's not that at all. They're just unhappy of how they've been treated, and they have every right to be that. And if they start saying, racist things, or because don't think every person you hear, every black person out there speaks for every black person. Just like I hope to God not everybody thinks every white person speaks for every white person. Because one racist fuck can get out there and, pretend to be not racist or whatever the case may be, and then say these stupid statements and then make everybody against white people. But he's like, that person doesn't speak for me. None of these fucking white fucks out there speak for me. I want everybody to know that first and foremost. Shit, there's not a single, I just burnt myself. There's not a single person out there, whether it's fucking government, whether it's somebody who does the same job as me, whether it's a Canadian, anything. There's nobody who's going to go on record to say something about Black lives or all lives that is going to speak for yours truly right here. I speak for myself and myself only. I have this platform, this is where I give my opinion. And to generalize every white person because some white person said some fucking stupid shit, it's not me. And I wouldn't do that because of a black person says that either, or a native, or an Indian, or a German, a Russian. Doesn't matter, whoever you are. I'm not gonna. If one person says something bad, doesn't matter. I'm not gonna blame your whole race on that one fucking person. And I hope to God everybody should extend that courtesy to everybody. Everybody needs to believe that just because one person from one race gets out there speaking for their whole fucking race, doesn't, unless they were appointed by a fucking group, like legitly, like you saw the group appoint them, then, take it for what it is. And if it's on the media, it's just more bullshit. Even if it is alternative media, just watch out. There is some good alternative media out there, and there's some crap shit made to just polarize you even more. So just be very careful. And, it's just to separate us even more of this shit. It's stupid that we take this fucking tragedy. This man gets killed by this fucking disgusting pig animal, and because of it, we're not going to grow any closer. We're going to grow further apart. It's so beyond unevolved. It's not even worth my time to talk about, unless I'm extending my condolences to the family, and unless there's some way we can learn from this travesty. It's terrible that we have to keep going through this shit over and over and over again, having to go through fucking racism over and over again. We get closer and then we get further away, then we get closer and we get further away. It's so shitty. But I think ultimately we are getting stronger. This is just another test, and we're gonna pass it. We're gonna pass it with flying fucking colors. But the more people that go on record saying racist bullshit, well, we're just weeding out the bad ones, the ones that aren't part of us anyways. They're either polarized or still ignorant, or, they were played, they were fucking, guard the gates of your mind and you should be alright. Follow your intuition, but your intuition should be telling you that all races are great. But in every race, there's going to be some bad eggs that are trying to do some bad shit because they have some resentment towards another race. Who knows? And maybe they have a good reason for that. There's definitely the black community, the black people that have been, bullied and hated and treated, mistreated all their life because of their fucking skin color. Those people are they're hurt, they're traumatized. They didn't deserve any of that, and they're probably hurting inside. They need to fucking heal. And unfortunately, if they see somebody who resembles that or brings that out in them, then yeah, this shit might come out wrong. But we're not all like that. I certainly wouldn't treat anybody like that. It's not how I was raised. I think everybody's fucking equal. I think everybody's fucking equal. I don't care how much you make. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're a fucking senator or a fucking president, or if you're a fucking Joe Schmo hobo on the side of the street, or a fucking somebody on the system or disability. I treat everybody equal. everybody. To my friend who makes the most money, to my friend who makes the least money. You guys are all the same to me. Same with the people I don't like. I got the assholes that make more than me. I got the assholes that make less than me. But they're all just assholes anyways, you know? We're all equal. But right now, the black community needs every other quote-unquote race to back them up. We need to be on their fucking side. And if you're not on their side, well then you're part of the problem and not part of the solution. So instead of going out there saying all lives matter, let's just go back up the one race that needs our fucking help right now. We back them up so that when we're on the chopping block, if something bad happens to us, when they try it from a different angle, then they're on our side again too, and they back us up. And then we can start working together instead of being apart. And then we can show once and for all, we can show whoever the fuck is trying to pull our fucking strings like little puppets that fuck you, I took my strings back, took my power back, I got my fucking mind back. Fuck you. We're fucking in control now, asshole. Anyways, I hope I didn't piss anybody off. I really hope I'm not polarizing anybody, but I really think we should be there giving our support. If you're not the same race as the race, if you're not an African American or black person, whatever that entails, you support them, you stand by them, but you shut your fucking mouth and you let them do the fucking talking. It's not for you to fucking lend and say, oh, I know how this feels or anything like that. No. I mean, I'm sure there's races out there that feel the same thing, that have had this happen to them, you know, and you can draw on that or whatever, but, you know, I wouldn't go up there and be like, yeah, as a white man, I was treated like shit, like cops. No, I never died, so I was treated like a fucking prince compared to... Anyways, I'm going to end it there. All right. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.